Hi folks, I'm Ann Webb, Policy Director with Common Cause North Carolina. And these are 5 things you need to know about North Carolina politics this week. Number 1. It was a relatively quiet week at the General Assembly as state lawmakers returned from their July 4th break. But some big items are looming on the horizon as the legislative session lumbers into summer. North Carolina's new fiscal year began July 1st, but there's still no new state budget. Negotiations continue behind closed doors between leaders of the Republican-controlled House and Senate. It's unclear when a budget deal might be reached. A lack of a budget is delaying a wide variety of spending priorities, including raises for teachers and state employees, as well as Medicaid expansion and funding required to run elections. Number 2. Anti-voter bills are still under consideration in the legislature. Senate Bill 747 would target people who rely on mail-in absentee voting, including seniors, people with disabilities, and voters in rural communities. The bill would also harm people who use same-day voter registration, disproportionately hurting people of color and young voters. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 749 would radically change the structure of the State Board of Elections, stripping the governor's power to appoint members to the Elections Board and handing that authority to legislative leaders. Senate Bill 749 could lead to politically motivated gridlock, providing no mechanism for resolving tie votes on the Elections Board. That could result in dangerous inaction and sow chaos in election administration, threatening popular options like early voting. Both Senate Bill 749 and Senate Bill 747 passed the Senate on party line votes last month and are now in the Republican-controlled House for consideration. Number 3. Democratic Governor Roy Cooper has vetoed a number of controversial bills passed by the Republican-controlled legislature, including anti-LGBTQ legislation that would ban gender-affirming health care for transgender minors. Republicans have enough members in both the House and Senate to override the governor's vetoes, if all members are present on a given day. Legislative leaders may try to hold veto override votes in the coming week or month. Number 4. Although we may be headed toward the final stretch of this year's regular legislative session, surprise bills can still arise. That happened this week when House Republicans unveiled a radically changed Senate Bill 90, filled with a long list of items related to public schools, book restrictions, and transgender youth. Those highly controversial changes were going to be heard by the House Education Committee just hours after being unveiled on Wednesday. But Senate Bill 90 was suddenly removed from the committee's calendar without explanation, and it's uncertain when the bill may be taken up. Number 5. Beyond the ongoing budget battle and controversial legislation, lawmakers in the coming months are also planning on drawing new congressional and legislative voting maps. This latest round of redistricting comes after a new Republican majority on the North Carolina Supreme Court earlier this year issued a ruling that reversed a ban on partisan gerrymandering. That means lawmakers may be tempted to once again trample on the rights of North Carolina voters by drawing extremely gerrymandered districts. We'll be mobilizing North Carolinians across the state to speak out and remind legislators that our voting maps don't belong to politicians. Our districts belong to the people, and we demand fair voting maps that are free from manipulation. Those were 5 things you need to know about North Carolina politics this week. Thanks for joining us, and find us anytime at commoncausenc.org.